Director, Pharmaceutical Continuous Manufacturing at USP. And Dr. Dubey will be sharing the USP's initiatives for capacity building and advancing continuous manufacturing. I welcome you, Dr. Dubey. Stage is yours now.
Thank you to the IPA for having us here today. In the next 15 minutes, I plan to walk you through some of the initiatives that USP has taken over the past several years to advance the important area of continuous manufacturing and how these might be useful to the member companies of the IPA and other stakeholders. I serve as the Director for Continuous Manufacturing. I've been at USP for about 3.5 years, and I've had the pleasure of helping develop some of these activities. So we can move on to the next slide, please. First and foremost, the USP's global mission, which is of extreme importance to us, it is to improve global health through public standards and related programs that help ensure the quality, safety, and benefit of medicines and foods. And we have been doing this for over 200 years. There are several other activities besides standards development that USP now engages in, specifically in the area of advanced manufacturing. We will talk about a few of them, a subset of them, because 15 minutes is not enough for me to be able to walk you through all our activities. Let's move on to the next slide, please. Our focus today is to talk about how we can make continuous manufacturing, or CM, more accessible. How do we understand the barriers that are there in the adoption of CM? How do we lower them? How do our standards help? How are we looking at the process going forward in terms of developing science-based guidance? How our analytical support services are being built up, our consulting services, our knowledge management, training, and advocacy for advanced manufacturing. How we are doing all of those things. We will talk about just a few of them today. Next slide, please. So we have seen several benefits being quoted about continuous manufacturing, and this is based off of our discussions with several adopters of continuous manufacturing. What we have seen in especially the drug product manufacturing solid oral dosage, that the facility size can be reduced by as much as 90%. And then there are associated energy savings, personnel cost savings. Reduction in solvent usage for API manufacturing processes is significant. And there are several other advantages in the operations. Aside from getting more insight into the process, because you end up using a lot of technology and models to ensure that your process is in a state of control. So overall, operationally, we have learned that there can be 30 to 35% cost reduction in manufacturing. However, we do realize that there is a significant upfront cost to build up a continuous manufacturing facility. The next slide, please. So here are a few barriers that we have understood as part of our discussions with various stakeholders. There is an uncertainty in the return of investment. Like I mentioned, there is an upfront cost to adopting continuous manufacturing, and sometimes it is not clear how and when that cost will be recovered. There is a time factor, the time needed to switch to advanced manufacturing or continuous manufacturing. So that factor is important, especially in areas where timing is really critical, that you need to be able to file quickly. In many markets, there is an uncertainty about the regulatory expectations. There is a severe lack of trained workforce that is able to utilize continuous manufacturing lines and develop products for and on them. And there is a general lack of awareness even today on several of these technologies that leads to confusion. Through training, exercise, convening experts, and working with companies, we feel that we can help lower several of these barriers. And that is what our efforts are dedicated towards. Next slide, please. This is a snapshot of our journey from 2016 to going forward in continuous manufacturing. So our major strength is our ability to collaborate and convene stakeholders from various walks of industry, regulators, and other stakeholders. And our ability to bring them together and discuss issues. And we do that all the time. In fact, we are doing that for biologics PAT today, right after this meeting. So we did some of that work initially to try and understand the landscape back in 2016. Along the way, we formed several partnerships, whether it was with academic groups like the Usps at Rutgers University, or with other companies that are adopting continuous manufacturing, and we learned along the way. We created expert committees, which are composed of experts from industry, academia, and regulatory bodies, who help us understand what is the scope and opportunity for continuous manufacturing-based standards. We also developed key collaborations, like with the Flow Corporation, where we are looking to develop analytical methods for key essential generic medicines using continuous manufacturing. We developed an initial training program for basics of continuous manufacturing for solid oral drug products. That training is available through USP education. We have a consulting company now, which is called Pharmatech Associates, a USP company. They are providing consulting in all aspects of pharmaceutical manufacturing and also in continuous manufacturing going forward. With the IPA, we are looking forward to host our USP India Continuous Manufacturing Workshop in April this year. Next slide, please. So this is a snapshot of our overall landscape of activities in continuous manufacturing. So our initiatives can be divided into three main areas: science and standards, and we are a science-based organization, so this is key for us. Our continuous manufacturing services area, which we are growing fast, and consulting, like I mentioned, we have a separate consulting company, another entity that is providing consulting in this area. Based on our discussions with various people in the industry, we learned that we cannot go product first here because our products are our standards, and several standards are already applicable in continuous manufacturing. Now, before we go ahead and find new standards to develop in continuous manufacturing, it is a better idea for us to go with services first. So we decided to develop a suite of services which we can offer to several of these manufacturers and actually learn along the way. And some of that knowledge can eventually distill into public standards. So in this process, if you look at the middle tree in our services, one of our main initiatives is our Richmond laboratory in Richmond, Virginia, where we are working with Flow Corporation. The laboratory is under construction, and we have already built a team of scientists who will be developing analytical methods for continuous manufacturing of APIs. We expect that in a year, we will be working on 4 to 5 generic APIs. Similarly, we are working on a flow chemistry activity in our Hyderabad, India site. This is in early stages, but we are very excited that we get an opportunity to build something in India around flow chemistry and work with all of you. Within Rockville, we also have about 40,000 square feet of lab space, and we are also earmarking some space here for providing services specifically for analytical method development in continuous manufacturing. We are building a knowledge center in collaboration with an organization called NIPT, which is National Institute for Pharmaceutical Education and Training, and also in collaboration with the FDA. This knowledge center will be one place where anyone can sign up and get relevant information about various aspects of continuous manufacturing. And like I mentioned, we do offer continuous manufacturing training through our USP education program. In the science and standards, our new strategy states that before we even go for compendial methods and standards specific to continuous manufacturing, we aspire to develop technical guides on some key areas of continuous manufacturing. And I will tell you a little bit about that in the next 2 slides. But in the compendial process, we already have expert committees for physical analysis, chemical analysis, spectroscopy that are working on general chapters which remain relevant for continuous manufacturing. We also sponsor academic research which sheds light on some important critical aspects. For example, residence time distribution modeling. What may be the best way to select a tracer for a particular type of an API. One of our recent projects was about developing a formulation for favipiravir, which is a difficult to formulate drug. And our aim is to eventually develop a dissolution model to help with real-time release, kind of provide guidance on how real-time release can potentially be achieved in a complex process like this. Next slide, please. So when we talk about science and standards, one of the areas we want to focus on is control strategy. And before we go for a formal documentary standard, because we feel that the content may not be fully mature for USP NF standardization, but we do want to fulfill the industry's needs sooner and position ourselves as the thought leader in this process. So we are working on a technical guide on control strategy development in general. Now, what does that include? Next slide, please. This includes all of these areas. I do not wish to go down the list with you right now, but as an overview, all aspects which make sure that you are able to assure quality and control your process, they all come in the control strategy, whether it is from the early stage or when you're measuring your process using RTD, risk assessment, and whatnot. Next slide, please. So this is a pictorial description of how children technical guides could come out of a control strategy or feed into the main control strategy document. Those could be about statistical tools, about process analytical technologies, risk assessment, technology transfer, etc., etc. We do feel, and we have heard from the industry, that there is a need for more detailed guidance like this to be made available. We realize that this is going to be a heavy lift for us in the coming years, but we do feel that it is important that this kind of knowledge be made available to the adopting companies. Next slide, please. There can be several chapters that can come out of these. For example, statistical tools. Technical guide could lead to a chapter on multivariate statistical process control, MSPC, sampling strategy. Risk assessment could be talking about the material properties for key starting materials or initial or materials that are used as excipients and so on. Next slide, please. Knowledge management is another key area where USP is contributing. Like I said, our CM training is available, but we are also working to develop a knowledge center in collaboration with NIPT and the US FDA. Next slide, please. why we need the knowledge center is that a lot of the knowledge on continuous manufacturing is distributed in various areas, and there's one place that it can be aggregated and curated and made available is going to be our knowledge center. This is information about our course. If you're interested, feel free to click the link or reach out to us. This is about solid oral dosage manufacturing using direct compression, and all aspects of manufacturing and process control are covered. Next slide, please. So we can skip this because I already mentioned why we are building the knowledge center. Next slide, please. And like I said, the knowledge center will bring together all the key stakeholders and provide information in a readily available manner. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So overall, this will be a center that will be updated frequently. All the key practices will be surveyed regularly. A wiki-like website will be made available, and a user forum will be provided in case somebody wants to ask a quick question about what they are doing and they want to learn about what other experts are doing in continuous manufacturing. They can ask that quick question through the knowledge center. Next slide, please. Finally, Pharmatech Associates is a consulting company of USP. They have over 25 years of experience in providing consulting to various companies. They work in all aspects from product and process development all the way through to regulatory filing and then facilities and capital projects. We are also building consulting practice specifically for continuous manufacturing going forward. If you're interested in learning more about it, the website is available, or feel free to reach out to me. My information will be available in the last slide. Next slide, please. I hope I have been on time, and I hope I know a lot of information, but I hope I've been able to convey to you the breadth of activities that we have undertaken in continuous manufacturing and how we look forward to hearing back from you. And definitely would like to keep the dialogue going. Thank you very much.